Yowza! Hey, so how are you supposed to try to consciously change your life while paying attention to the life that you're living? Oh, it's interesting. Welcome to the news. Welcome to the news. Stay to the end to find out how. So, how are we trying to start things off today? We're trying to get into the mix of trying to understand how to functionally be a part of your collective focus as you continue to thrive and drive through your life on a day-to-day basis, more or less. But there's something a little bit serious that I want to talk to you about today. And if you could sit back and just let me try to dive into it all, try to bring up what is known as the carrot and the stick. It's the carrot and the stick, the carrot and the stick. I've talked about it a couple podcasts ago, but we're going to try to dive a little bit deeper into that today. It's not that deep, it's a little bit surface, but nonetheless, we want to try to get into something so it's a little bit valuable for you. And so what we're going to try to do is focus on the stick today. The stick. It's the stick. And the stick actually has to do with reality and the reality that you're living in, more or less. And reality has to do with things that you're dealing with on an every single day basis. And the stick in reality in terms of just like the most basic sense. Let me break it down for you real quick. So the stick and the carrot. The stick and the carrot. What are the stick and the carrot? So the stick and the carrot correspond to the carrot being your goals, your ambitions, your highest interests, your highest focuses, your highest frequencies, your highest everything. Basically, everything that you want to put onto a platter of every ambition, of every vision board that you've ever conceptualized, coming together in one splattery blob onto a plate that corresponds to everything that your dreams could possibly come together as conceptually on from one day to the next, in terms of the carrot being the representation of that, in terms of the metaphor of what you're trying to achieve, in essence, for what you're trying to move towards. What you're trying to eventually get after, if you had all the money in the world, if you had all the resources in the world, if you had all the best interests and all the best mentors and the best focuses and the best process and the best resources to try to actually achieve and eventually accomplish and eventually achieve some destination that you might want, if you had unlimited resources and unlimited blockages in all the conceptual fashions and facets that correspond to this eventual outcome. That, my friends, is the carrot. That is the carrot. That's the carrot. That's the carrot. So keep that in mind. Hold the carrot in the back of your mind until a little bit later, because what we're getting into now is the focus of this podcast, which is the stick. The stick is how you consciously are meant to able to conceivably change your life in real time. In real time, what you actually have to acknowledge is that stick is real time, corresponding to like this song, this podcast. We're in like a certain level of completion of this podcast at the current time. So the level that we're at right now is corresponding to a current little space, a current cursor that's bringing this to fruition, is bringing this to the end, from the beginning to the end. And right now, in terms of time, where we're at, where we're moving through time, in essence, is the stick. The stick is the thing that's hitting you in the back. It's smacking you in the back, making you obligated to deal with the day-to-day obligations that you're obligated to deal with, in essence. So corresponding to that is real time. That is real life. You're able to manipulate that little stick, which is smacking you in the back every single day, every single second in time that you're stepping forward. Right now, even if you're sitting still, you're stepping forward in time, because in essence, that little stick is smacking you in the back and it's obligating you to move forward. That's the minimum that you're obligated to do on an every single day basis. Basically, if you're alive, the minimum you're obligated to do is to just exist. In a basic sense, you're, just obligated to go on, basically. And that's what time's obligation, in the minimum, most minimized fashion, is able to be corresponding to the stick as. The stick is basically the thing that's slapping you in the back. Now, how you correspond to changing that fundamental outcome, in essence, is also correlating to the way that you're ultimately able to try to triangulate the carrot with the stick, after all. So the stick corresponds to the most minimum thing that you're doing every single day. It could be work, it could be feeding your dogs, it could be going to the store to get more food, because obviously you need food to eat to be consisting as a human person. So being consistent as a human person to exist. So nonetheless, the purpose of mentioning the carrot versus the stick is corresponding to the essence that you need the carrot to be able to get a more of a fundamental focus on the stick. The stick is something that fundamentally is able to be more manipulated. The stick is more a fundamental tool if you have the carrot in mind. The carrot empowers the stick. More or less, it's an empowering concept to have all those things for the carrot thrown up and splattered out onto a plate, so that you have an idea of an understanding of an eventual conceptual goal that you're trying to get at. If you have the carrot in place, the carrot is ideal if the carrot is clear. If the carrot is clear, if the carrot depiction is more so clear than not clear, then after all, you have that ability to be able to triangulate towards that carrot. And then what the stick becomes something that you have the ability to a little bit shift, a little bit at a time. And it's sort of like you can't always think at the same rate of time, because time is pretty fast and time is always moving, and it's difficult to be able to try to think always in real time, after all. But what you can eventually do is think a little bit forward in time, use the past in somewhat in terms of data to be able to continue to collect and be able to work against. But after all, So nonetheless, that stick is something that you can improve tomorrow. You can improve it the day after that. You can improve it the day after the day after tomorrow by changing the essence of the minimum items that you're obligated to do on a day-to-day basis that correspond to things leading up to the carrots. Basically, the carrot. I should just call it the carrot, which leads to every single ambition that you've ever wanted. I guess you could call it in one platter. But after all, the stick is something that you can manipulate on a day-to-day basis because it's things that correspond to that eventual goal. It's getting to that eventual goal. And right now is the stick. It's your obligation to move through time every single second of the day because in essence, you are obligated to just move through time. That's like what the stick in the most basic, bare bones sense is obligating you to do. It's smacking you in the back and it's saying, move forward in time, move forward in time, a little bit at a time, move forward in time, move forward in time. And that's the most basic existence of the stick. And it's always there. The stick is always there. So it's always smacking you in the back. It's saying, you must go forward in time. You must go forward in time right now. Go forward in time. Go forward in time. And it's an obligation. And so nonetheless, it's fine because it's good. It's good when you're, have that stick there because it's just reminding you that you need to also do other things in life because that stick oftentimes always corresponds to, it's always wrapped for everybody's life because everybody's always involved in other things. But they wrap that stick in other things that they're involved in life that they obligate themselves to do, whether it's work, whether it's feeding themselves, whether it's feeding their animals, their pets. Every single day there are repetitive processes. Every single day, if you're able to be cognizant of those processes, take a step back, correspond to how you are exactly triangulating with those day-to-day processes, which are your stick. Because if it's going to work every day, that's your stick. Your stick is waking up at a certain time, brushing your teeth at a certain time, and being able to manipulate that process, after all, has to do with getting to the other side of the day, in the finish line, where in essence you've completed a certain amount of items, and that is your stick on that day, on that given day in essence. But when you correspond it to the essence of getting to the result of the resolve, of the conceptual essence of where you might eventually want to get to or go to or be at someday conceivably, then in essence you've got what is the fundamental bottom line carrot stick. It's the carrot and the stick relationship dynamic, and that allows you to fundamentally change the essence of the nature of the purpose of the stick and wrap the stick in different things. So every single time that the stick smacks you in the back, obligating you to go forward in time, that it's wrapped in different things. It can be wrapped in different things which triangulate in the trajectory or in the direction of trying to reach your carrot goals. But it's pretty important, after all, to be able to also acknowledge and recommend and have a fundamental potential process to get to the essence of finding the way to get to those goals, after all, because your ability to also recommend your focus is something that is unique only when you've got the ability to realize that you're moving in this right direction. And so fundamentally, you've got this ability to get there as well, if you allow yourself to. But you must be able to try to find the ways to get there fundamentally. Hold on. So you have to start to deeply meditate. Start to deeply meditate a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. You need to start to deeply meditate because in essence what you're doing when you deeply meditate is you understand that you can wrap your stick in a fundamental sense on a day-to-day basis. And this is very difficult because life is a continuum basically. And so you're able to get deep about your stick process. Your stick process corresponds to being able to meditate and really get into the groove of time and life and existence by just being able to try to manipulate all these conceptual fabrics that correlate to how you can exist with the present moment and be able to try to change the stick habits, basically the stick habits that are equaling to different outcomes every day on the quantum field, the quantum life world field that basically you're obligating yourself to do with the stick. The stick is a tool to basically be able to smack yourself in the back and make yourself do different tricks and tools and use different tools and have different outcomes every single day. And it's basically cause and effect. But you have to be able to acknowledge the stick fundamentally, grab the stick, hold the stick, embrace the stick. Understand the stick is constantly smacking you in the back. So by knowing that the stick is constantly there, it's constantly smacking you in the back, whether you give it directions or not, then that empowers you directly to be able to grab the stick, look the stick in the face as it's continuing to smack you in the back, because that's the stick of time. It's basically the stick of time. And as you continue to wrap it in different tools, different items, different objects that correspond to your goals, the eventual different carrots that you conceivably want to eventually get to, in essence, you're kind of like planting seeds within that stick that's smacking you in the back to constantly be remembered. It's constantly smacking you in the back to remember these different things by giving you different actions to take to also add up to greater aggregate energies that you're adding to on a day-to-day basis. And that stick is the most powerful tool that you have, because you, in essence, are always living in the stick, and the carrot is always floating out above you, no matter what. Regardless how many goals you reach, the carrot is always floating. The carrot is always is floating on a fishing pole out in front of you, basically. So it's always like a metaphor for things that you're always striving for. So you're never able to actually get to the carrot. So as you continue to reach for the carrot, that's in the essence of the game of life. But the stick is your actual tool. The stick is not tied to the fishing pole, that's tied to the carrot. The stick is smacking you in the back is a separate stick, and that stick that's smacking you in the back every single day is reminding you that you have the ability to wrap it in different actions that you can take to remind different thoughts to go off like alarms every single time it smacks you, to be able to correspond to different functionalities, which correspond to different functional results, which correspond to different essences that relate to different fundamental processes that you can program into the stick every single day, into your thoughts, into the stick actions, into the formats that correspond to the different actions, which correspond to how you live your life, which correspond to the people that you surround yourself around, that support different actions, that correspond to environments that you put yourself in, that correspond to mentors that you want to be around, that correspond to people, things that are indicative of asset results in terms of causing and affecting different potential outcomes that realistically have to do with the potential that you're putting into yourself and investing in yourself in terms of thought, in terms of attention, in terms of mentality, in terms of processes, in terms of programs, in terms of people, in terms of pipelines of energy, of direction, of focus, of attention, of surroundings, of potential relevance to different corresponding energies that relate to the essence of your any given amounts of energy spent to yourself, that you're able to recycle it, to be able to repurpose it, to be able to use it as assets, so your energy becomes assets. You use your energy as assets, in essence, leveraging the stick as a focus tool, because it's constantly smacking you in the back, reminding you that you need to do X, Y, and Z, and every single day that you do X, Y, and Z, and you follow through with X, Y, and Z, and you have those different programs that have been achieved and accomplished and functionally added to the process of your action wheelhouse of memory, of muscle memory, to your brain, to your mind, to your body on a day-to-day basis, that adds up to getting closer to carrot goals that were there from yesterday. And sometimes you can catch that carrot after all, and you can achieve those goals in the same day sometimes. And those little miracles happen by having that carrot out there and also having that stick smack you in the back, and have that stick you love, so that the stick is something that you love. And the uncomfortability of stick smacking you in the back, telling you need to do X, Y, and Z, is something that eventually you can embrace, because eventually, if you can continue to embrace the nature of the stick, and the nature of the stick obligating you to do a minimum amount of things every single day, and if you can get your momentum just a little bit ahead of the stick necessarily, that you can just somehow try to embrace the stick and the nature of the stick and the uncomfortability and the comfortability in the uncomfortability of the stick, trying to constantly get you to do different things in a more or less essence, because you constantly know the stick's coming, you see the stick is coming, you feel the stick smacking you on the back, you see the stick coming for tomorrow, and in essence you try to vibe with the stick. So in essence you try to move in front of the stick as best as possible, you try to coincide with the stick, you try to dance with the stick, basically, so that the stick has the ability to empower you to a certain extent, to where you can just try to leverage a certain element of current day reality, of current day processes, where you're currently living in the current moment, in the current second in time, in essence, and you're dancing with the seconds and the essences and the current of time, more or less, to be able to connect with it like electricity, to try to blast yourself forward like light speed, like electricity speed, into the future, to where you can try to connect the different goals that you have in a certain way that only quantum energy and quantum mechanics have the ability to try to collapse. Because nobody has the ability to tell the future, but sometimes when you program those neural conceptual pipelines into your conceptual mindset, in essence, by having a stick smack you in the back to constantly remember that they're there, and there are constantly actions that are necessary to constantly be able to take and need to take, that when you're dancing with the stick, when you're asking the stick for permission, when you're asking the stick to smack you in the back about different specific things that you're trying to focus on in different realms and different packages of thoughts, to try out different things, to eventually try to get to eventual conceptual goals that relate to the carrot world, that relate to trying to slingshot yourself into the carrot constantly, and trying to continue to aim yourself at the carrot and the all that the carrot stands for. That as you continue to try to do that, as you continue to try to have this work happen, that you'll just sort of be trying to do certain things, and then other goals you might reach by accident or in proxy necessarily, that relate to other aspects of the carrot, in essence. And so it's just a constant chasing methodology game, that in essence the stick is your best tool. The stick is like the stick in a game, like a hockey stick in a game. In essence, the stick is like your tool in life. It's like your little weird metaphysical tool in life. To have the stick with you is like this energy that's emanating from the stick, except it's behind your back. It's like your coach. Basically, it's like your own little metaphysical coach, basically. As coach, it's a metaphysical stick. It's smacking you in the back. It's pushing you through time, in essence, and you have all these other obligations every single day that you obligate yourself to do anyway, including but not limited to, like a job or a cat that you have to feed, for example. And those are already part of your program processed into your stick. And your stick is your life. Your stick is the current moment in time, basically. And you're able to, like, somehow be able to wrap that stick into different programs, different processes, and then add different layers on top of that stick of different processes and continue to wrap it in different processes and continue to reprogram it in different essences of different thoughts and different quantum focuses and energies that you're able to, like, re-dip it into and re-triangulate it and make it compatible into different elements and different essences of contextual connections to the universe, so that in essence that stick can try to smack you in the directions in the quantum field that try to help you collapse the time between time, space, and energy into connection with certain goals, and the essence of trying to find and connect different goals that you might have in the past, present, or future based on trying to leverage that metaphysical stick. The metaphysical stick. Marinate with the stick, dance with the stick that's slapping you in the back. Embrace the slap, I guess you could say, and just try to hopefully leverage the essence of loving the essence of having a stick, because a stick is like a sport, is a tool that's used in a sport typically most often, and so in this instance it's ideal to have something versus nothing, so it's a little bit of a tool in life to be able to hopefully give a little more focus on to, because it's there, it's always there, so you may as well embrace it, try to dance with it a little bit, flow with it, vibe with it, and get to know it a little bit better, because it in essence is a tool that you can program with all these things that are trajectories towards the things and the items and the interests and the focuses and the interests and the instances that you might want to meet up with in the future that are corresponding to the goals that also correspond to the program that corresponds to the carrot that you have, that corresponds to all of your goals in one lump sum. And yeah, let me do a quick shout out at the end of this episode to correspond to the essence of the best nature and the best interest to clear the animal shelters, because animals help guide us in our process to fulfill all of our goals, and we should best be hiring them as healers, because their energy is able to help us best program our stick and best navigate life, so that in essence we are best able to best use the essence of programming ourselves to connect with our stick and program ourselves with connecting with our goals as best as possible by aligning with animal energy, because animal energy is healing energy. So let's clear the animal shelters, and hire all animals as healers throughout communities. Thanks again. Bye, Dinky Tech. Bye, Peace. Bye. Dink Tech, Change for Games. Dink Tech, Change for Games Studios. Bye, Peace. Bye.